Hey, I'm Chris and this is Legends and Stuff. Today I will be talking about legends of witches from around the world. For thousands of years, there was the strongly held belief that witches were living among us. Some men were accused of being witches throughout history, but the majority of the time it was women persecuted out of fear, misogyny, and prejudices. First up is a true case of Goody Ann Glover, who was hung as a witch in 1688 in Boston. In fact, she was the last woman in Boston to be hung for witchcraft, though the witch trials continued on sometime later in the nearby Salem, Massachusetts, which is famous for its witch trials which occurred in 1692. Ann Glover was accused of being a witch by her employer and his 4 children when his children suddenly became ill. Ann Glover was an Irish woman who lived in Boston with her daughter. It was stated that she was able to understand English but not speak it, and her employer, John Goodwin, and his children actually thought that she spoke the language of the devil until the time of her trial, when it was discovered that she was actually speaking Gaelic, and she was actually in fact given a translator for her trial. There were accounts that the woman did in fact believe in witches and that the children in question were bewitched, and she insisted right up until her death that her execution would do nothing because it was somebody else bewitching them. The evidence against Ann Glover was much more than just her native tongue, however. She had told Cotton Mather from the Salem witch trials, who was also present at her trial, that she prayed to a number of different spirits, and she was also found to have these strange dolls in her possession which people thought were used in her witchcraft. However, Anne was a Catholic in a Puritan world. Not only were there many prejudices against the Catholics by the Puritans at the time, it is believed that the spirits she referred to were the Catholic saints, and that the dolls were supposed to represent the Catholic saints that she was praying to. Ann Glover died a Catholic, making the decision to forgive her accusers before she was hung. In 1988, the city of Boston declared the 16th of November Goody Glover Day, 300 years after her death. Next is the Salem witch trials, which occurred between 1692 and 1693. Nearly 200 people were accused of being witches, 30 were found guilty, and 20 were executed, though it is thought that the numbers are far greater than that. It was a time of mass hysteria, fear, and superstition, as well as paranoia. On May 27th, the governor of Massachusetts, William Phips, created a court of oyer and terminer for the Salem witch trials, though there is no record of him ever actually attending any of the meetings in person. On the 10th of June, Bridget Bishop was the first person to be convicted and hung for being a witch in the Salem trials. She was the first of 20 to be executed between the months of June and September, 19 of which were women and 1 was a man. Giles Corey was pressed to death on the 19th of September at the age of 81 after 2 days of torture. Remarkably, Giles Corey never pleaded guilty to being a witch, and he instead remained silent throughout his torture, because if he had admitted to being a witch, all of his properties and money would have been turned over to the government, and rather than that, because of his silence, it then went to his children. His wife, Martha Corey, was hung 3 days later, and she was in fact the last to be hung for witchcraft in the Salem witch trials. Martha Corey was only accused of witchcraft because she did not believe in witches and spoke up about her belief that the accusers were lying, which young girls in the village then used against her to accuse her of being a witch herself. William Phips brought an end to the Salem witch trials after he disbanded the Oyer and Terminer on the 29th of October 1692, when he began to reflect on the trials with disapproval. It is believed that this occurred after his own wife was accused of being a witch and arrested, which occurred in September of the same year. Phips made a new court after disbanding the Oyer and Terminer that no longer allowed spectral evidence to be valid, which pardoned all of the women imprisoned for witchcraft. By May, all of the convicted women had been released from prison. Next, we'll be moving out of the realm of reality and into ancient Greek mythology. Hecate was a goddess that was capable of both good and evil. She was considered the goddess of witchcraft and crossroads. Young women would often invoke her when casting love spells or curses of vengeance on their former lovers. Hecate was also associated with the moon and creatures of the night such as ghosts and devil hounds. In artist renderings, Hecate is often seen with dogs or snakes because they are her sacred animals, or she is seen holding a torch because she helps Demeter search for her daughter Persephone after she is kidnapped by Hades, or a key because she was also considered the goddess of doorways. According to Hesiod, in the Theogony, Zeus honoured Hecate above all else and spoiled her with a share of the earth. However, from other ancient sources, Hesiod seems to be the exceptions, with others not holding Hecate in such high regard. Hecate is actually still worshipped in the modern Wiccan faith and has gained a lot of popularity in the last few years. That is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed the video and you learned a lot, and if you did, please remember to like and subscribe, and I will be back next week for part 2 of Legends of Witches Around the World. Thank you.